Well, it's hard to believe it's been 1 year since I installed this tankless water heater unit, and therefore it's time for the annual maintenance, and this will be the first one for this one. I have the products, and I'm going to show you the process for how to do it on your water heater as well, so stay tuned. Let's cover what products you're going to need in order to do this annual maintenance. The biggest ticket item is the pump, right? Because to do the maintenance, we're going to basically create a closed circuit loop where we're going to pump vinegar through the system in order to descale the heat exchanger. So we need a pump. Now, this is the one I bought. It's a 6 horsepower Everbuilt submersible pump. And so you can get any kind of a submersible pump that will work for this. It doesn't have to be this one, but it has to be able to pump enough liquid with enough pressure to get it around through that loop in order to properly clean the heat exchanger. So, I've heard that maybe larger fish tank type pumps might work. Maybe a smaller submersible pump would probably work, or even a transfer pump, which is a pump that doesn't get wet. It just has an input and output port. So whatever you buy, just make sure it has the pressure in order to push the amount of water we need through this. But this 6 horsepower pump would do the job, and you can buy this at any big box store or on eBay. Then I bought 5 gallons of distilled white vinegar. Just any kind of food grade vinegar. You can buy it at the grocery store or at Costco or wherever. And then a 5-gallon bucket, and then also a couple hoses. These are just some old dryer hoses, but any kind of short garden hose would work as well. The first thing we're going to do is just turn the unit off. That way it doesn't run the entire time while we're doing our maintenance. Next, we're going to locate our service valves. So we have our cold water and our hot water service valves. We want to turn these off so that water, we're basically creating a closed loop. Okay, next I'm just going to put my bucket under the unit here. I'm lucky I have a utility sink literally right under the unit. But I'm going to make sure I have a clean bucket, and I'm going to go ahead and start pouring the vinegar in here. I bought 5 gallons for this 5-gallon bucket, but we don't necessarily need all 5 gallons, maybe just 4.5, just so it's mostly full. Okay, next I'm going to take one of my hoses and I'm going to connect it to the inlet of the pump. Make sure you check that there's a gasket inside there that's in decent shape before you do that, before you use that hose. Okay, now we'll just put our pump into the vinegar solution here. Now on our service ports here, we're going to take both the caps off. If they're on too tight, you may need pliers. Now the hose that we connected to the pump, we're going to go ahead and screw that into the cold water side. This is where the vinegar solution is going to go in. Make sure you don't cross thread. Now on the hot side, we're going to take our other hose and thread it on there. And then we'll just drop this into the bucket. Now we're going to turn the service valves open. So you'll have either a handle like this or a smaller handle, and we want to turn it toward the flow. Its perpendicular is off and parallel is on, so we turn both the service valves on. All right. So now we have our main valves are off. These are perpendicular, and our service valves are open, and we have everything connected. So now we're just going to go ahead and turn the pump on, and we should start pumping the fluid into the system. And we're off and running. We can just verify on our that we do have it's cycling out of the bucket into the cold water, through the heat exchanger, out of the hot, and back into the bucket. So it's just in a closed loop system. Now I'm going to note what time it is right now, and I'm going to let this run for about an hour. By the way, my solution, I filled it up to, almost 7/8 of the size of the bucket. That was a little over 3.5 gallons, by the way. So 4 gallons of vinegar should cover it. Also check for leaks. So we're all good. We're coming up on the hour, and you can see that our crystal clear solution is now murky and gray. So that means the cleaning's going pretty well, or it's being. And so something I wanted to mention is, as far as what you use, whether it's vinegar or you use a chemical solution that you can buy at the big box store, I guess the big determinant is if you're maintaining it every year. I don't think I won't ever use one of those harsh chemical descaling solutions. A couple reasons why. I have a water softener here, and although we have hard water, because I have the softener, a good working softener, that should minimize the amount of scaling that goes into this water heater. And the other thing is, as long as I do the maintenance once a year, and I do it for an hour, maybe as I go on, maybe I'll do 2 hours, that should be sufficient. If you feel like your water heater hasn't been maintained properly, maybe you moved into a home and you have no idea, you may have to go with the harsher chemical. And in that case, you would do it the same as this. You would put the harsher chemical solution in here. You would run it through a closed loop. The difference is you would want to rinse it out much better than what I'm about to rinse out. And also, you'd have to test the pH in your water after you rinse it to make sure that you, in fact, have gotten rid of or diluted that solution before you turn your water line, your valves back on and let that water go through your system. So anyway, now that it's been an hour, I'm going to go ahead and unplug the pump and turn that off, and then I'm going to just disconnect the cold water. Okay, so I unplugged the hose and turn my maintenance valve off, and I'll just go ahead and cap that. Just doing that on the cold water side for now. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to leave the hot water side on, and I'm going to go ahead and just take this and put it in the sink here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the cold water on to start running the water through the softener, but it's going to be still coming out here. So that'll just rinse the... So I'm just going to rinse out the vinegar, flush out the vinegar through the system for about 30 seconds to a minute. Okay, that's good. Like I said, since I'm using a food grade vinegar, I don't need to be concerned too much about getting it fully rinsed because it's vinegar, it's harmless. But if it was a descaling chemical, I would definitely have to make sure that I rinsed it out fully and tested the pH after, took a sampling and tested the pH to make sure that it's safe before turning the water back on. But that's why vinegar is better for this. It's just you don't have to worry about all that. Okay, so now that I've rinsed it, I turn the water back off. I'm going to go ahead and close off our service valve on the hot side, and we'll go ahead and disconnect our hose. And we'll replace our cap. All right, now we're going to go ahead and turn our cold water back on, and then our hot water back on. do it real slowly, gradually. And finally, we can go ahead and turn back on the unit. And I'll set the temperature back. We like it at 125. That's it. We have finished our annual maintenance. Well, if you guys have any questions or comments about the maintenance procedure or how to install it, like I said, I'll have a link to my installation playlist at the end of the video. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them on the video and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.